Welcome back, guys. Max here, and welcome to another episode of I Spy. If you don't know what I Spy is, basically what I do is I go and trawl the larger YouTubers' channels, look in their comment sections for questions that are not being answered, and then we answer them on a Friday in this series. So if you didn't know, that's what we do. Now, last week I did a series all about the possible maps that we were going to see in Turning Tides. I found that information online. Great guy put it together, put a very detailed list of all the different maps, how they could play out in the actual game itself. Very, very well done. And this week I've decided that we're going to focus on what weapons we are likely to see in both Turning Tides and the Apocalypse DLC. Now, Turning Tides is obviously coming in December. The Apocalypse DLC will be dropping at some point in the new year. We're not unsure, or I say we're not unsure. We don't actually know when they're going to be dropping, but sometime in December, sometime in the new year. So anyway, without further ado, these are some of the suggestions. This guy is absolutely amazing. Nixon 2 Strong put this together. He's catalogued a whole bunch of potential weapons and stuff like that that we could see in those two DLCs. And so without further ado, let's get stuck into it. These are his words, not mine. This is his review, not mine. All I've done is compile it into a video. I just want to make that clear before we kick off. So anyway, in the Assault class, he has the Beretta OVP, Automatico OVP in brackets. The cartridge is a 9mm Glisenti round. Its rate of fire is anywhere between 800 and 900 rounds per minute. Capacity is 25. Variants, factory, optical, and storm. It was designed in 1916. The OVP was an SMG design based on the Villaparossa machine gun. The weapon itself saw extremely limited service at the very end of World War I. When reloading, it chambers around by cocking a pump back similar to a shotgun, and if implemented, it'd be very interesting to see how this is animated within the game. Its high rate of fire puts it on the same level as the Automatico 1918, though I believe it could be balanced as more of a medium-range submachine gun by lowering the rate of fire to 800 and making it less accurate while hip-firing. The codex for the Elite Automatico 19 states that the OVPs were made after the war, but my sources say they were made during the war and shipped to a few troops for field testing. Now, there's a paragraph. That is an exact paragraph written by him, not by me. So when I say I am actually referring to this fellow, Nixon 2 Strong. So let's I just want to make sure that's clear. All these images are images that he's compiled as well, and some of these are absolutely gorgeous. Big shout out to James D. Julia as well, who is an antiques firearms dealer, and some of these images are actually taken from their website of actually genuine weapons that are available for purchase, so long as you go out and get yourself a mortgage. So next up on the list is the M1917 Trench Carbine. This one's absolutely great, and these images are beautiful. It fires either a 9x19mm or 7.63x25mm cartridge. Rate of fire is actually unknown, but purportedly really high, like 1,200 to 2,000 rounds per minute. That's insanity. Capacity 10, 20, 40 round box magazines. Variants could be the factory, optical, or trench. The Mauser 1917 Trench Carbine was a surprise creation and just happened to find out about while researching the M1917 rifle. It is a carbine, fully automatic version of the C96 that predate the World War II M712 Schnellführer carbine. It was developed late in the war as a trench clearing weapon and went up against the artillery Luger in combat trials. It was never accepted into service, most likely due to the cost of producing it. With a high rate of fire and a 40-round magazine, this weapon will need to see a decrease in damage and an increase in vertical recoil. Unlike the C96 and C96 carbine found in game, this one has a detachable box magazine. And again, these pictures are absolutely stunning, and these are all images of the genuine weapon. Next up on the list, we have the Winchester Model 1912 shotgun. I apologise for bursting your eardrums there. I got into that. I'm super excited. Cartridge is a brass 12-gauge shotgun shell. Its rate of fire is a pump action. We're going to get to rate of fire in a minute. It's a really interesting quirk with this gun. Capacity is 5 to 6 rounds in the tube. Model variants could be factory, hunter, extended, or the backboard. This Winchester shotgun began production in 1912 and was one of many shotguns used by the United States during the war. Even after World War I, this shotgun continued to serve all the way up to the Vietnam War. We already have the Model 10A as the game's powerhouse shotgun, though I think it would be pertinent, I should say, to add another one for the variety aspect. Of course, this can be balanced to fill a different role other than the Model 10A. I would say give it more pellets in close range, but reduce damage further out than the Model 10A. Just like the Model 1897 trench gun, the Model 12 shotgun can be slam fired, and slam firing is basically, it can be operated by holding down the trigger and pumping continuously, so you can basically make it a fully auto shotgun, quite similar to the Model 1897. The images, again, are coming from James D. Julia, and I suggest you go check out their website. A link in the description will be down below. Anyway, moving swiftly on into the medic class. Madsen Rasmussen Rifle 1896. This thing looks absolutely gorgeous. Cartridge is an 8x58mm Krag round. Rate of fire allegedly 45 rounds per minute. Can be higher, at least 290 rounds per minute, considering the type of action that it uses. Capacity is 10 plus 1, obviously 1 in the pipe. Optical, Storm and Marksman variants, as well as a factory variant. This is apparently the very first semi-automatic rifle to be adopted by a military, even though only 80 rifles were ever issued. Designed in Denmark, the rifle is considered to be the forerunner of the Madsen machine gun. It reloads the same way by pulling a lever-like charging handle on the side like the Madsen MG. Damage-wise, it should be on a par with the RSC 1917, though it would be more reasonable to put the damage on par with the self-starter rifles and the Mondragon. Bullets are ejected directly in front of the trigger guard below the rifle, just like the Madsen MG. Next on the list, we have the Hagen rifle. This thing fires as a cartridge of 7x56.5mm proprietary cartridge, semi-automatic straight pull bolt, kind of like the General Liu. This weapon can be fired either in semi-automatic or in straight pull round. Capacity of 5 rounds, variants possibly factory, optical and marksman. This experimental Norwegian rifle was developed early before the advent of World War I as a replacement for the French Lebel rifle. It could fire either semi-automatic or in a straight pull configurations. In terms of damage in game, this could serve as a powerful 2-shot kill weapon similar to the RSC 1917 in semi-automatic. By switching to straight pull fire mode, that 2 shots can be fired at extended ranges similar to the Gewehr 95, making this weapon a crossbreed between the medic's normal self-loading rifles and the scout rifle, i.e. like the M95. As he goes on to say. Again, these paragraphs are taken from him, not from me. The Munir rifle, this one's really interesting, comes also possibly in a 15-round variant. Its cartridge is a 7x59mm proprietary cartridge. It's a semi-automatic, fires at 300 or 360 rounds per minute. Capacity either 5 or 10 or a 15-round box magazine. Possible variants, factory, Storm, optical, marksman or an extended version. The Munir rifle was one of the very first rifles next to the Madsen rifle to be issued to troops. Like the Hagen rifle, the Munir was considered as a replacement for the Lebel rifle. However, the Munir was actually adopted for service. Once World War I started, the adoption of the Munir rifle fell through and the only 1,000 rifles were ever issued since the French military could not afford to produce it anymore. It did serve in the field, however, making it a historically accurate weapon for World War I. In-game, this type of rifle would fit somewhere along the line of the C. Rigotti and the M1907, albeit a little bit more powerful with a little slower rate of fire. The magazine is not detachable, so it still needs to be reloaded by stripper clips. I can assume that is also with the 15-round box magazine is not interchangeable. So the images on the screen again showing some of the old antique versions, and there is an RSC at the bottom image there that I'm going to flick up on the screen. Next, we jump into the support category and the Dahn Model 1918. This thing looks absolutely beastly. Cartridge 8x50mm R Lebel round. Its rate of fire between 1100 and 1200. There are ways to balance this out. He says, don't shit yourself. Capacity, belt fed, 25 or 50 rounds. Variants, low weight or trench. The Miltlaus Dahn Model, I've absolutely butchered that, guys, apologies. 1918 machine gun was developed as a general-purpose land and aircraft machine gun from 1917 to 1918. It saw very limited service in the form of combat test trials at the end of the war, but was not officially adopted until the Great War ended. Considering its absurdly high rate of fire, this can be balanced by giving it a high horizontal recoil when aimed, making this more useful as a hip-fire weapon. If implemented, this machine gun will have to have its fire rate dropped to about 800 rounds per minute or have its damage reduced to a 5 to 6 shot kill in close range. It'll be interesting to see how this one gets balanced, he says. It could serve as a good way for a support to combat Automatico users, but still needs to be balanced. Next up, we have the Vickers Berthier Light Machine Gun Mark I. Cartridge is a 303 British 30-06 round. That's in the United States, obviously. Rate of fire, 450 to 500 rounds per minute. Capacity is a 20 or 30 round box magazine. Low weight telescopic or optical variants. The Vickers Berthier has a sordid history with designs dating back to 1909. The early model was tested and formally adopted by the US in 1917, though it would never be produced due to a lack of manufacturing facilities when the US entered World War I. It did, however, compete against the Bren gun for a British military contract later in the century. This is a slower alternative to the Dahn model, providing a more stable and controllable rate of fire. Think of this as the Bren gun of the Great War. Next on the list, and this thing looks absolutely gorgeous. I really hope this makes it into the game. This is the Lewis Assault Phase Rifle. This thing looks gorgeous. Cartridge is a 30-06 or the 303 British round. 450 to 700 rounds per minute is the fire rate. 20 to 30 round box magazine. Could come in a storm, trench or telescopic variants. It's a true oddity. This version of the Lewis gun has been lightened and configured to be an automatic rifle. This weapon was purely experimental, was only used in trials against the BAR back in 1918. It was truly considered to be an assault rifle, but was never adopted nor produced. Gameplay-wise, this weapon would be a direct contender against the BAR. I would recommend a reload slightly longer than the BOR, a decrease in the fire rate and a bump in damage. The goal would be to produce a true assault rifle for the support class, but not one that's as effective as the Medic's rifles or the Fedorov Avtomat. Now we're into the Scout class, one of my personal favourites, and first up on the list is the Carcano M91 rifle. Its cartridge was a 6.5 by 52mm Carcano round. It was a bolt action, 6 rounds, could come in an infantry, carbine or sniper round. That was up to dice, obviously. I suggest we'd probably see this in a carbine variant. This Italian rifle, saw service rifle, was developed in 1891 and fires from an en-bloc style clip, just like the Gewehr 95 rifle. In-game, this rifle's main appeal, due to its small caliber, will be its low bullet drop and high velocity that's on par with the Gewehr 98. It'll be an ideal weapon for a longer range combat at the expense of not being very powerful. I still think this rifle should have a sweet spot and a one-shot kill to the head, but body shots should be, say, 2 or 3 bullets. So I'd say it was probably going to be in line with a 2-shot kill, kind of like the Gewehr 95. Next on the list, we have the Arisaka rifle. This one, I think, will 100% make it into the game, as we are more than likely going to see the Japanese play a part in the World War I Turning Tides DLC. Cartridge was a 6.5 by 50mm Arisaka round. It's a bolt-action 5-round rifle. Infantry, carbine and marksman variants are obviously available. This Japanese service rifle was adopted from 1899 to replace the Murata rifle. Even though Japan didn't play any major role in World War I, they did have a small naval presence. So I figured it would be interesting to add the Arisaka into the game. Like the Carcano, the Arisaka fires a small cartridge, so the same benefits offered by the 6.5mm Carcano apply here. The only difference is the Arisaka's ability to single load. Also, I think this rifle should have a sweet spot and a one-shot to the head, at the expense of having a 2 to 3 shot requirement to kill somebody in the torso or the body at closer ranges. It should still be a 2-shot kill. Can't say I agree with that. I think it should be a 2-shot kill on the sniper rifles. Nobody wants a 3-shot sniper rifle. That's ridiculous. You're into the realm of medic class kill guns and all that kind of fun stuff, especially when they introduce the new patch. Next up on the list is the Winchester Lee Navy rifle, M1895. Fires a 6mm Lee Navy straight pull bolt action gun, 5-round on block or an internal box magazine. Could come in the infantry, marksman or sniper variants. Now, the Lee Enfield rifle is a small caliber straight pull rifle that was adopted by the US Naval Forces at the turn of the 20th century. It can have either an on-block clip or a standard internal box magazine for single reloading. The quick action puts it on the same level as the Gewehr 95 rifle, offering fast follow-up round in exchange for no sweet spot and lower damage than the standard sniper rifles. This is a really cool rifle, and hopefully we will get to see this in Turning Tides. The same as the last 2 rifles, quick actions like the Gewehr 95, 2 to 3 shot kill at longer ranges, a medium range sweet spot, 1-shot kill to the head, and 2 shots at close range. Me personally, I think they're going to add this and it will be similar to the M95, and totally look forward to that. So that being said, there we are, guys. That is all of the weapons for the Turning Tides DLC. Now, I do have all of the other weapons he suggests for the Apocalypse DLC. I'm going to do that next week, because this video is otherwise going to go on and on and on forevermore, and you don't need to listen to me babbling forever. And I like to build up the suspense, and some of the suggestions he has for the Apocalypse DLC weapons are absolutely orgasmically fantastic. These weapons look absolutely brilliant. And as a little bit of a teaser taster, one of the weapons he suggested is the Thompson prototype Persuader model, although I don't think that variant will make it into the game. I think its bigger brother will make it in the game. That would be the Annihilator. Anyway, that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. I will see you Saturday morning for another round of, what are we playing? We're just going to basically get you guys in here and we're going to have a go and see what goes on. So join in the fun. Live stream Saturday morning. Totally tripped over my words, guys. I've been babbling for way too long, and you know me, I don't script any of this. So come and join me on Saturday morning for the live stream. Great to have you. Jump in, play. We'll do some fun stuff. If anybody wants to suggest another world record, it won't be one lying on your belly. Choose something else and we maybe have a go at that and just spice it up a little bit. But you're all more than welcome. If you want to come over and play, jump on in Saturday, 11 a.m. Central Standard Time in the US, 5 p.m. in the UK. And until that time, guys, I'll see you. Ta-da.